Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Make Your Mark podcast. And I know I've already said this several times, but this next guest that we have is super, super amazing. Now, I want you to guess. I'm going to say so. I want you to guess as to what she does. And what she does is capture magical moments in our life. Yeah, that's what she's a superstar in. And she is part of our DI in a kind of a different way where she's capturing our moments. She's not a member, but she has been following us around, right? Everywhere we've been, Vegas, Ibiza, everywhere to capture these moments. So have you guessed it? She is an awesome photographer, right? Like we have been using all of her materials that she's been taking of us, and we've been plastering it all over social media because she is that amazing. So please welcome to the stage, Amanda. Oh my goodness, Amanda. I am so excited to have you here.
What an intro, geez.
I'm so glad. But the thing is, you do magical stuff. You
Oh,
absolutely do, right? And not everybody has that skill. We've tried it. We've tried it on the phones, and it doesn't come out the way that you do it,
yeah,
right?
actually, I've had people take behind the scenes pictures of me at events, and they're like, "Oh, I've got some behind the scenes." I'm like, "Thanks. Oh my God, is that what I actually look like?" Not
Oh
flattering, like not flattering angles. I get in the most peculiar angles when I'm on shoots that I don't need to be shot like that.
no.
Yeah.
Okay, see, we don't realize that. We think, oh yeah, she's taking photos of everybody else. Let's do something for you. Not knowing that, okay, yeah, there's masses of skills behind it, and you've been doing it for years.
Videos are always better. At least it's like movements, like
Yes,
the
that
behind
is
the scenes.
true. That is true. Now, before we get into a little bit more as to what you do and
Yeah.
how you do it, right? I would love for you to share with our audience today a little bit about what your journey has looked like, right? Because we don't just, build and start a business just on a whim, that click of a finger. It doesn't
Mhm.
happen. So, how did all that journey start?
So my background is crisis management and counterterrorism. So I
You told me this, and I'm like, you what?
yeah. So I did disaster management at uni and went on to be an emergency planning officer for a local authority. And I started the week that Baby P hit the news, and I left 6 months after Tottenham riots
Oh,
and was on
wow.
call all throughout that for things like burst water mains, fires, all sorts of things that the council would then get involved with the response. And then I went into corporate and I was consulting with FTSE 100 companies to put plans in place for the worst case scenario. So every single day was, what's the worst that could happen? Right, let's put a plan in place for it, or let's create a scenario and make these companies role play this incident. And it got really depressing,
Oh gosh, yeah.
like every single day. And like I'd be walking around London going, oh, why there's a sniper up there? Like it's just not a good headspace to be in. And photography was basically a creative outlet of going, I need to just shut my brain off from this doom and gloom and do something creative. And then when we got married, I thought I probably could have done a better job with it strapped to my chest. There were some not particularly flattering portraits of me and Hutch.
Oh,
Great candids, but some of the like I just wasn't like massively happy with how I looked in the portraits.
wow.
Um, and I didn't want to leave the wedding industry. And what is the polar opposite of doom and gloom? Weddings. So
Right.
I became a wedding photographer, fell in love with that, but actually more so fell in love with the like with the suppliers, which is then how the branding side came on. And then in 2019, we found out that we couldn't have children. I had a bit of a health scare and I got screwed over when it came around to bonuses. And I went, okay, I'm done.
Oh
And
my
I
God.
waited until the bonus landed in my account and I handed my notice in and I went, I'm not doing this anymore. Life is too short to be doing something that I no longer enjoy. Like I loved being with the clients and I loved the adrenaline feel of emergencies. But you
Right.
can't live like that. I've been doing it for 12 years. Like your
Wow.
body is not designed to be in that state of fight or flight continuously. So I left in June of 2019, and then COVID hit in 2020. Ironic for an ex-emergency planner to then not be there for the actual
Right.
emergency that we'd spent years and years preparing for.
Yeah.
But I much preferred being an out of work photographer than in the thick of it and working in office politics that just made me ill.
Right, right. So there's several things there I want to speak to you
There's a
about.
lot to
Right.
unpack there.
There was a lot, but like, holy crap, from going from yeah, being in crisis, constantly helping people out of that, to then being in this kind of like bubble of very merry, right? Love, 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 weddings and
Yeah.
all of that is completely two different things. Now, when you decided this is what you want to do, this is where you want to be, that's completely different. And I can see the attraction in going and down that road after you've been in such like I guess very emotional situations, right?
Yeah, sometimes, but actually a lot of the time not. You just become very like cold to it. Like
Really?
that, a fire just became a fire, or a burst. Like some of the stuff, like not every emergency you were dealing with had a human element to it.
Mm,
Like things like a burst water main, there's an inconvenience of shutting a road, but it's more of a logistical problem. So
right.
things like Tottenham riots and child protection stuff, that was always going to be harrowing. But the day-to-day work got so dull, and I was like, God, I'm getting to the point where I am wishing for a slight emergency, so I've got something to do.
Right.
And again, not great, is it? To be like, oh, I just want a minor flood today. Like, not to take out, not to hurt anybody, not to damage anything, but just like shut a few roads, give me something to do. Like, not
Oh my
not
goodness.
submitting grit reports at 4 a.m. because central
Right.
government want to know how much grit London has. Like, that stuff's dull.
Yes, that is. Sounds it. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. That's a thing?
Yeah. So what happens is at 4 o'clock in the morning, every local authority has to submit how much grit they've got in winter every day to a regional point that then sends it to a central point so that when Cobra meet at 10 a.m., they can talk about how much grit there is.
Wow. Okay. All right. Yeah.
So
No
I needed
excuse.
something jolly and I needed something
Yes.
fun. And people used to say, oh, weddings must be so stressful. I'm like, they are like nothing flaps me. It's a
Right.
walk in the park compared to having to evacuate a mental health hospital. Like
Right.
weddings
Oh
are
my
fine.
Oh my God. Okay. So what was I guess, what was going through your mind? Right? Because it's very two different things, right? Where you're like, yes, I'm going to be doing this and I'm going to go for it and I'm going to be making millions and it's going to be so awesome. Or was there times where you're like, holy shit, why did I do this?
I think definitely in the thick of wedding season, there were definitely times where I was like, why am I working a 60-hour a week job and shooting weddings at weekends? Like what in all manner of craziness did I think this was a good idea? But but by that point, when I was doing lots and lots of weddings, I also knew that one day I would quit work.
Right.
So I knew I wanted to build a really sustainable business. Coming from a risk management background, I was never going to be someone who just threw it all in, no matter how many times I had typed out my resignation letter when I was in corporate. I was like, no, this has to be sustainable. It has to have longevity, partly because I was like, I don't like failing. I
Mm-hmm.
particularly didn't want to have to go back with my tail between my legs to
Yeah.
corporate and be like, oh yeah, it didn't quite work out. And when I did hand my notice in, people were like, they either said I was brave or they said I was mad.
Wow.
They thought I was crazy. Why would I throw away a corporate career and, you know, the salary that goes with it and the benefits that go with it to do my own thing? And I had maybe not, they didn't, to be fair, realize just the extent of how I'd built the business over the last 5 years of doing it.
Right. So
But
hold on a second. So you was in this job and on the side you were building your photography business as well.
yeah.
Okay. Wow. Wait, so how did you even have the time, right, to do anything else? Like the fact that you're married as well, to meet someone, right, and wanting to start a family, like where were you going to find the time to do all of that?
So thankfully I met him at uni, so that was good. We were well established. Uh,
Okay.
um, And actually, it was Hutch that pushed me to start the business because I had been faffing about with a logo for a long time. And he went, for the love of God, will you just hit submit and launch the website?
Oh.
So he has always 100% backed me. Um, I'm also a workaholic. So the
Mm.
drive to make this work, like it just worked as a team. Like we had always said, whoever gets home first cooks dinner. Now in the industry that I was in, I never got home first. So he was already cooked, like he was already the one that cooked all the dinners and made sure I got fed. And so when it came to then running the business on an evening, Hutch would be like, well, I'll sort dinner, you do some work. I did a lot of traveling for work, so I used my train journeys to do my social media, to, build websites, to edit. I just got very good at time blocking, which Lisa would be super proud of.
She would
Um,
be.
and I think there's what's that phrase? Like, if you want something doing, ask a busy person.
Yes, that's
And
right. They'll
because
find shortcuts to do it.
yeah, because I was like, okay, I've got 30 minutes on a train. All right, I can go through and I can answer these inquiries, or I can go through and I can engage with people on social media, or I can post things. And when I actually left work, and I was self-employed for the first time, I did bugger all those first 2 weeks. I was like, oh my God, I've got all this time. And I faffed. And I
Ah.
just took 2 weeks of not doing it because there was no urgency to do anything.
Okay, I see. I see. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I just want to take a couple of steps back here,
Yeah.
right? Because you mentioned that you was procrastinating basically on submitting this website and getting it
Yeah.
out there, right? And it's been going on for some time, which is why your husband has to give you a kick up the backside, right?
Yeah.
Which is great because you wouldn't be here now if it wasn't for that,
Absolutely.
right? And so, why were you procrastinating? What was there? There's got to be a fear element. What were you scared of?
I think a lot of it was, so if you look, especially 10 years ago, look at a lot of photographers' business, like about pages, it says, I have had a camera in my hand since the day I was born. And I was not that person. Like, I had this creative hobby, but I only got my first camera when I left, like proper camera when I left uni. So I was like, shit, like these people are proper creatives. I'm like, whereas I'm a self-taught photographer
Mhm.
who, I've got an eye for it, but actually what I am really good at is business. Um, and I think that's what helped kind of propel me being a photographer was because I was good at business, so I was good at the marketing side of things.
Wait,
Whereas there are
how did you become good at business?
because I'd worked in corporate for so long, and you pick just lots and lots of bits up, especially when moved in, like when I went from local authority to being in corporate.
Ooh.
um, I was surrounded by global companies, and in writing crisis management plans, you have to interview every single head of department about what they do, why they do it, how can they run on 50% number of people, like what are their resources. So I got to learn about lots and lots and lots of different types of industries, and I just sort of picked it up through that, and it just sort of made sense. Whereas I think there's lots of insanely talented creative photographers who
Mm.
don't understand the business side of it. So you have a lot of starving artists, and I
Yes,
can be
that's
a
right.
starving artist.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay, I would not have thought that being in that kind of industry that you would have learnt business as well.
Mhm.
Wow. Okay. So you knew you had the business on point, right? You
Yeah,
knew how that worked. And so it was a matter of just getting yourself out there, but you
yeah,
hesitated,
I
right?
did. Yeah, and Instagram wasn't really a big thing when I started my
Okay.
business. Like I've been a photographer for 11 years.
Wow.
So it was mainly kind of Facebook. So it was going to wedding fairs was kind of really what was how it started. And face to face felt so much easier then. Interestingly now, massive events um terrify. They don't terrify me, but they're exhausting. Like
Right.
they absolutely wipe me out. Whereas I think back then, not so much. I would quite happily stand and talk to hundreds of couples in a day, follow up the very next day, and fill my calendar with weddings.
Yeah.
And then I'd meet all of the suppliers, or at least get the supplier list from my couples. So then when I had photos of the wedding, I would send that on to the vendors being like, hey, like, here's some pictures that you can use on your socials, just tag me in it, which
Oh,
then just got me out there even more. Um,
wow.
so it was just, and I was used to selling because you have to sell consulting projects in corporate.
Mm,
So I
wow.
just sort of
Okay.
like bring it
Yeah,
together.
I like that. And basically you came up with a strategy that was so simple, right? But then got you so much more exposure
Yeah.
by using the materials that you created, the assets that you created,
Yeah.
right? So that's pretty cool. Now, I know, right, when it comes to, building a business,
Hmm.
yeah, it's great to have all these things, and you're working on the marketing and the sales, and you got to have all these different skills, right? Which means, especially at the beginning, you're wearing all the hats, right?
Yeah.
You're wearing all the hats. And the thing is, but you're not just wearing the hats in the business, is in your personal life too,
Yeah.
right? And I know you did mention to me about, growing your family, right?
That was a
And
long journey. That was a very long hat.
so tell us a little bit about that.
So we were trying, so from when we decided that we wanted to start a family to when we started IVF was 7 years.
Hmm.
So it was a long, and some of that like protracted length of time was because I was traveling so much with work. There are for fertility tests, there are certain times of the month that you have to be tested. Now, if I'm halfway across the country or I'm overseas, I can't go and have those tests at that time. You also do need to be with your partner like in the same room quite frequently to be trying for a baby. Again, if you're traveling a lot, it's quite impossible to do that. So there was
Yeah.
definitely an element of, I think the reason it took so long was because um, we just weren't seeing each other that much for a proportion of it.
Mhm.
And we just buried our head in the sand. We just thought, well, it'll happen one day. And I don't really know what it was that kind of kick-started us actually going, right, well, let's go and get the tests and all of that. And then we went for heaps and heaps of tests, and we were told our only option was adoption or IVF.
Okay.
And so we went to a particular clinic because it dealt with what we needed. And we kind of came out of that and it was like, shit, that's a lot of money.
I was just gonna say, yeah, wouldn't it be easier just to adopt?
It's not an easy process. It's
No.
really not like, and it's a long process. And we just thought we want to give this a go first. Adoption was always a possibility, but we wanted to give
Hmm.
the IVF a go first.
So when you went and found out how much this is going to cost and how long it's going to take, what did that actually look like?
So I think, what did we spend? It was like, what did we do? I think we were on sort of 12, 13 grand is what it cost.
Oh,
We were super, super fortunate that it worked first time.
oh, it did? Because I was
Yeah.
going to say, how many times did you do that? Because it's
Yeah. So
the first time.
they harvested 10 eggs, two of them matured, one of them's in the freezer, and one of them is now a 3-year-old wild child that runs around causing absolute chaos.
And you're like, this was absolutely worth it.
Absolutely worth it. But we had gone for the appointment and made the decision we were going to do it in February 2020.
Hmm.
And then COVID happened and my work all fell over. So no income coming in. Actually, not completely no income. My couples were amazing and a lot of them paid their final balances still, even though their wedding wasn't going to happen because they were like, well, we've saved it. We were expecting to pay it and we don't want you to go out of business so that you can actually vote. So my couples were insanely good.
Yeah.
But also what happened was that all fertility treatments were stopped as part of the COVID response
Oh, I
because
see.
the priority was to preserve the life that already exists rather than bringing new life into it. And so it was another setback, but I got it. Like I understood obviously why you do that.
Mm.
But then all of that kick-started again in August. So it wasn't that long a delay, really. I thought it was going to be sort of, until we came out the other side. But yeah, it started the injections in the August and yeah, sort of July, August time. And yeah, it worked first time. But
Yeah.
I then spent like the next 23 weeks vomiting.
Oh my goodness.
Thankfully, being in lockdown, like most people didn't know that we were doing this and that I was pregnant, because on Zoom, you only see like boobs upwards.
Yes.
And I was not blessed with the, oh, when you get pregnant, your boobs grow. It didn't happen for me. I'm still tiny. But it meant that nobody could see this growing belly. And even more of a bonus, nobody could rub my tummy, which is what people do. And it's weird when they rub your belly and go, oh, when are you doing? I'm like, get off me. Like,
Yes. Oh, I always wondered about that because you wouldn't go to anybody else that wasn't pregnant and
no,
rub their belly. Like, why
no,
does it make a difference now you're pregnant?
exactly. You don't walk up to a man with a beer belly and go, oh, how many beers did that take you? Um, but I think that, like, we didn't tell anybody because we didn't want the questions. And like we'd had enough people saying over the years, oh, when are you having children?
Yeah.
Like, why
I'm
people think,
assuming it's probably family that's probably constantly mentioning this.
right? I mean,
What?
some family, yes, complete strangers. I had wedding suppliers saying to me at weddings, oh, do you have children? That's a fine question. Like that, okay. And when you'd say no, oh, why?
Hmm.
Or, oh, do you not think that you should? And I got to the point where if somebody said, oh, are you going to have children? I'd be like, did you have unprotected sex with your partner last night?
Hmm.
And they'd be like, what? And I'd be like, well, that is sort of what you're asking me. If you're asking someone
Yeah.
if they're trying for a baby or they're going to have family, you are asking them if they're having unprotected sex. So
Right.
that was always my throwback to them, because I was like, I'm so fed up
Really?
of this question. Even my mum would get questions from people, oh, are you a grandma yet? And my
Wow.
mum's like, no, I'm in my 50s. Like,
Oh my goodness.
like,
Oh my god. So like apart from like just throwing that back at them and asking them, are you asking me about unprotected sex? Like how did you mentally like kind of keep kind of the fact that you had so many people asking you the same questions, right? That does actually kind of
yeah,
hurt, right? It
it
hurts.
hurts.
And it
It does.
goes round and round in your head. So how do you process that mentally where you're trying and you're having challenges, but yet people are asking, like you probably wanted to go and punch someone at some point.
I had a couple of amazing friends who I could vent to.
Ooh.
Um, so people that knew who knew what were going on in our life, I could vent to them. It then became hard when they had children, because then I'm like, oh, can I really vent to them? But actually, one of my really amazing friends, she's another photographer, like she knew exactly what was going on. She would let me vent. And then when she got pregnant, because we know each other that well, she knew kind of what my cycle was. So she
Mm.
waited to tell me until she knew I wasn't going to be at a wedding, that I was going to be at home with Hutch, that I wasn't going to be at work, that I wasn't on that week,
Right.
before she told me that she was pregnant, because
Oh,
she didn't,
wow.
and she sought advice from someone as to how do you tell your friend that you're pregnant when they're going through fertility issues. And I got the absolute sweetest message from her, and she was like, if you want to not see me for a while, if you don't want to, like,
Wow.
and I got this message and I burst into tears and I said to Hutch, Philip is pregnant. And he was like, oh, I'm sorry. I was like, that's not actually why I'm crying. I was like, you need to read this. And like, this is just how this is how you do this is how you tell someone that you know is going through fertility issues that you're pregnant. Like, she didn't hide it from me. She didn't,
Yeah.
like, but she told me in the sweetest way possible. And it was friendships like that that really kind of held space for me, that allowed me to rant and be like, this is so fucking unfair. People
Mm.
are getting pregnant left, right, and center. They're popping them out like candy. I'm scowling at people on the tube, like women on the tube, because they get a seat and I don't. Like, it's they allowed me to like just have this space and get it all out. But yeah, every time somebody said to me, oh, are you having children? I might come back with that witty remark, but I'd go
Mm.
home and cry because it was fucking hard.
Yeah.
And I actually, it must have been like back at like beginning of this year, back end of this year, I had a few people starting with the, oh, you're gonna give Jack a sibling.
Oh
I'm
my
like, yeah.
goodness.
And you know, when you get those people who do reels or stories where they're crying and then they put
Yeah.
over text, and I was like, oh, I don't know why you do that. And I was like, actually, do you know, like, and I was sat there like, literally, I'm not an attractive crier, like tears streaming down my face. And I thought, I'm so sick of people asking people, when are they having children? And it doesn't stop. Even when you've got a child, it doesn't stop. It's like, when are you having another one? Like, whether or not you want children or you don't want children, it's none of everybody's business. So we took this picture, and I just put over saying, do you know what? Next time you ask someone if they were having children or having another one, this is the face you might be causing. Like,
Mm.
there are days where we don't know if we want to go for another round. There are days when we're like, absolutely, we do want to go for another round. But we have an embryo in the freezer. Now, for us to decide that we don't want another child means that we also have to make the decision to destroy that embryo.
Oh,
Something that we fought so hard and went through so much to get. So it's not just a case of saying we don't want any more. We're happy with what we've got. We
yeah.
have to then instruct the clinic to destroy that embryo. So
Oh,
people just need to wind their neck in and not ask these questions because they don't know what's going on behind the doors. And every time I talk about it on socials, I get people, complete strangers, coming into my inbox going, thank you so much for talking about this. It's so lonely. I'm so frustrated that this is going on.
yeah. I can't imagine like how like, it brings up so many different emotions, and the fact that people are constantly asking you, and I guess it's not something that you want to keep bringing up, but it causes so much emotional and
Mm.
mental stress and anxiety, right? And the fact that you're having to go through this all over again because now they want your little boy to have a sibling. It's like, did
Yeah,
they not learn the first time?
no.
Is
Like,
insane.
generally, the questions aren't coming from the same people the first way around, which is good because I think at that point I should be like, you guys haven't learned. You're meant to be my friends. Like, off now. I'm
Yeah,
done. Um, like they are definitely, yeah, but it's the random strangers. I'm
yeah, yeah.
like it, like when did it not become okay to have one child? Like, why do they need to come in pairs?
Yes,
Like, and I did
absolutely.
like, yeah, it's bizarre, but like Hutch never gets asked these questions. I mean, he's not very visible to be honest. He works from home. He sits here and edits. So actually he doesn't have a social media presence. So maybe it's just that he's not visible. But actually when we were going through all the fertility stuff, he very rarely would get asked, whereas it would
Wow.
always be me being asked. And I just don't understand what gives people the the balls and the right to ask women what's
Yeah.
going on with their reproductive health.
Well, I guess this is something that needs to be changed, right?
Yeah.
That people needs to become more aware of it. And this is why we're talking about this right now, because it just isn't okay. And so I
Hmm.
want to take a couple of steps back here with you. You mentioned that your friend sent you this awesome message,
Hmm.
right? That was exactly the right way to express to someone that they're
Yeah.
pregnant. I want to know what that message is, and I'm sure there's people listening to it thinking, what was that message?
Oh God, I mean, like her little girl's like 4 years old now, so you're asking me to go back. But it was literally just like it started off with like, hey, how are you? Like sort of thing. But it was like, look, I it was along the lines of, I understand if after reading this you don't want to see me for a little bit. Um, and I'm hoping that you are at home and you've got nothing going on, but we are expecting a baby. I'm going to be due in whatever the date was. I know this is really hard news for you, so if you need space from me, then like, I completely get it. Like you are a really good friend, yada yada yada. And it was just the fact that she was like, she'd thought about it. Whereas I had another friend who as a group, they knew what was going on. It had not been that long since we had told them what was going on. And we were we were driving to meet these people
Yeah.
for a weekend. And we were literally sat on the motorway and we got a message to the group saying, like FYI, we're 6 weeks pregnant. 6 weeks. Why? Tell me at six. Like, why at 6 weeks? And I was like, oh my God, I don't. We'd just that week gotten our news that we couldn't have children. And
Ah,
so we'd given them the heads up that like we were not in necessarily the party space that we should have been.
yeah.
And so then to send that message that you were 6 weeks pregnant or super early, I was like, most people don't even know that they're pregnant at that point. Like,
Right. Yeah.
and it just felt so like, and I sat on the motorway going, I just want to turn around and go home.
Mm.
Like, I get that you tell the host that you can't drink or you can't eat red meat or anything like that, but you don't, like, I didn't need to know. I didn't need to
Right.
know she could have had non-alcoholic beer. And it was really hard to then put on this amazing smiley, like, oh my God, congratulations. Because I was always super happy for my friends.
Yeah.
But it was also a kick in the stomach that it was something that they were able to do the one thing that we couldn't.
Yeah. And
Um,
it's being
so
aware.
then when I got
It's
yeah,
being
so when I
aware of,
got Philippa's message, I was
yeah.
just like, this is how you do it. Because that came like 2, 3 weeks later. And I was like, this is how you do it. This is how you not this.
I think it's a lack of understanding, right, of being sensitive to certain issues, right? And I feel like
Yeah,
unless you're in it, you don't really know how it feels or how it's going to make people feel, and you just automatically feel that um, everyone should be happy for you, right? Because it's a
yeah,
great thing, without
yeah,
realizing what kind of effect it has on certain individuals that are trying for a child.
yeah. And I've always been like, we made an announcement on Facebook that we were pregnant, but
Yeah.
I knew that there were a couple of people, and it wasn't so much that like, yay, we're pregnant. It was a talking about the IVF side of things. I was like,
Ah,
we've gone through this. It's been fairly lonely. There were a few people that knew, but not a lot. I was like, and I didn't want anyone else to be going through the same thing on their own. Um, so we were just like, look, we've gone through IVF, it's worked. Like, and I was like, if anybody is going through this, I need somebody to talk to, and they haven't been able to talk to their friends or family, then my DMs are always open, and I got
wow.
15 DMs from
No
people.
way.
But there were two people that I knew of
Mhm.
that were going through the same thing. And I messaged them before I made that announcement saying, FYI, I'm going to be putting up like, as you like, we've been going through like fertility, we've gone through IVF, it has worked. I'm going to be putting it on social media. I didn't want you to open up social media and you be hit in the face with it. So
Yeah.
if you want to mute me, you can. I was like, but also rest assured, I am not going to be spamming my Facebook or any of my social media with pregnancy pictures, with baby pictures. Like most people don't even know what Jack looks like
Right.
because he is not online. I was
Mm.
like, so I'm not going to be spamming, but if you want to mute me, I completely get it. And I wanted to give you a heads up that I'm going to be posting this on Friday. Here's a couple of days to just like
Yeah.
shut me out of your socials if you need to. Because again, I didn't want people to feel the way I had felt by being blindsided by something and having no escape. Like if it had
Right.
just come into a message and we weren't going to see him, I was like, I was literally sat on the M6. Like, I've
My
now got to go and be happy when actually what I want to do is
goodness.
drink and cry.
Yeah. Oh my word.
And I
Okay.
wasn't even allowed to drink because I was meant to being really healthy and getting my body ready. So I was like, I can't even have a fucking drink.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I mean, that's the other thing. And people who have given up alcohol for whatever reasons will get it too. Every time you stop drinking, people are like, oh, like, no, I'm trying.
Oh my goodness. Like so when we went to the Crystal Maze, and you know that Lisa took all of us over to Crystal Maze, right?
Yes.
And the fact that we've been in Vegas and everything. Did you know before us joined I didn't drink. I quit drinking. I didn't drink for a year, right? I'm now in DI, and you can see me with people meeting up with them in London with a glass of wine and champagne and everything. I told Lisa this. I was like, Lisa, before I joined DI, I didn't drink. Now I drink. You know what she said to me? She says, don't worry about it, Kay. Every year there's always one.
mean, those ladies know how to party, don't they? Like they're such a fun group.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about your photography business, right? Because you are inundated with so many clients now. And in fact, like when me and the DIers are talking, right? We're actually having these conversations, be like, oh my goodness, we have to hire Amanda. Did you see those photos that this person
Oh, bless you.
posted? You know? And so all this stuff, all these conversations are going around about your work, that everyone's posting all these different social media posts. They're using your photography skills to create or post on social media. And yeah, everyone's talking like we gotta hire Amanda. We gotta hire her. And they're like, did you know about her 1 year package? And she just follows you around and just takes pictures of you. Like how amazing.
You made me sound like a professional stalker.
But that's okay because you create magic. Right? If you
Oh,
didn't
bless
create
you.
magic, there'd be an issue. But the fact that you do, and we can use it and you make us look good. You make us look really, really good, right?
I'm just gonna say, I bring out what everybody else is seeing. Like, I
Ooh.
genuinely, all, like I say all I'm doing, and I get told off for saying I'm just doing this, or all I'm doing is that. Like, I do appreciate there's a skill to actually what I do with the camera,
Mhm.
but I like my job is to just show you what everybody else is seeing. So if you're
Interesting.
looking at it going, oh my God, I look really good, I'm like, yeah, because that's what you look like to everybody else. That's what we see when we see you.
Oh, interesting because we can then go back in front of the mirror and be like, I don't look like that in the picture that Amanda took, right? Like I guess we
Yeah, I
feel
mean,
like
if you're there in your like hoodie and slouch pants, then yeah, so like you're gonna look little bit different. But my job is to bring out that sparkle and that passion and that
Ooh.
personality, and everybody is photogenic if they've got the right person taking their photo.
Oh, interesting.
Like, and
Okay.
I know there'll be people that think, oh, Amanda is just not for me. Like, they don't click with me, and that's fine because there'll be a photographer out there who will click with them. And if you can be really comfortable with the person taking your photo and you can be vulnerable about the things that you don't like we've all got things about our body that we're like, oh, not sure. Like, we've all got wobbly bits. Like, if you can be honest with your photographer and go, I don't like this side of my face versus that side of my face, then they have all of that in the back of their mind when they're taking their photos so that they are
Mm.
showing you in the most flattering way so
Yeah.
that you do look good in the photos. Whereas the reason a lot of people, I think there's twofold on this. The reason we don't think we look good in photos is because we have been surrounded by this narrative our entire lives that we shouldn't be vain, and we should look a certain way and we should be a certain size, and magazines that used to circle cellulite on size 10 celebrities being like, look how fat this person is. Like, that's what we grew up with. Like, from a very early age we're told to smile nicely and don't do this and don't do that.
Mm.
So of course we've got body confidence issues.
Yeah.
Like, it's been drilled into us since we were like 3 years old, and we say, oh, this, like, oh, this little 3-year-old, she's looking a bit chubby. No, she's a 3-year-old. Like,
Right.
she's meant to be squashy. She's like, why are we putting that weight fear onto a 3-year-old? So we
Right.
have that. But then also we have grown up with with mobile phones coming in and them getting their cameras on mobile phones, and they were shit to start with. Like, I look at phone photos on nights out where the light is terrible, your makeup slipped down your face because you've been
Oh,
dancing and it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Nobody looks good at that time. There is a reason wedding photographers stop at like 9 o'clock. No one needs that in high definition.
oh.
They certainly don't need it on shitty phones. So all we've got as a reference are all of our friends taking photos of us in terrible light, in unflattering angles, when we're hot and sweaty because we've been dancing all night. Like, of course we think we take a bad photo. You don't stand a chance.
Yeah. No,
It's
that
not
makes
often,
complete
unless you get married and you have a professional, it's not often that you have a really good photo taken of you.
right.
So
That's
you
true.
just think, I don't take a good photo. It's not, you just not had
Mm.
the right person take the photo.
Interesting. And I like the fact that you clearly have a whole strategy, right? The fact that you're asking them what parts of the body
Mm.
I do you not like, right? And I was like,
Yeah.
oh well, that's a really simple question to ask, but I don't know that if anyone even thought about that,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, don't
Um,
get me wrong. Like, if you're a size 20, I cannot make you look like a size 10. I
what?
am like
Amanda.
I will not Photoshop you to within an inch of your life, because that is because that's not who you are. Like, if you then turn up on a live and you're a size 20 and
It's
your photos are a size 10, it's disingenuous and people think, oh, well, what else are they lying about? But also,
true.
you are beautiful at a size 20. Why do we need to be this size, whatever size it is that we're meant to be now? Why? Like
Right.
you are beautiful in however you look, in what, whether you wear makeup or don't wear makeup, whether or not you'd like to turn up and be in slouch pants and a t-shirt versus a power dress. Like
Yeah.
everybody is beautiful, and that is what photography should be about.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Now, I know you have been part of Lisa's world for such a long time. I'm interested. You're not part of like you're not one of the DI members, but you are, right? Because you're with us and you're
Yeah.
following around. You're following us everywhere we go, right? Which we absolutely love. We want you there. But
You say that, but quite often I'll go to events, maybe not DI, but I'll go to event. Oh God, you're here with your camera again. So now I give people a heads up and be like, I'm coming, I'm having my camera, so just deal with it.
but that's a good thing because it's like, oh yes, they know me, right? They
Yeah.
know what I'm doing. They know what I'm here for, so they know you,
Yeah. Um, but yeah,
right?
I
Which is
have
great.
I have known Lisa for a long time. We met in the wedding industry. So before she came into this online world, before I came into this online world, we met in the wedding industry. And
So you've known her for years.
yeah,
Wow.
like
Okay.
probably since I think I photographed the boys' birthday party when they were 4, I think. Like, so a long time, because they're about to start secondary school, which is just mad
Oh
that they're
my
about to start secondary
goodness.
school.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think our both, like her husband Sam and my husband Hutch, I think they met at some styled shoot, wedding editorial shoot thing did, and there's not many men in the wedding industry, and so I think they maybe bonded over a love of old fashions and whiskey, and it just sort of like went from there.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So you did mention that your husband is an editor, right? So I'm assuming he does the editing side of your business and you both work together. Is that right?
Yeah, so he left his job last year. So he now is
Ooh,
he's in the business with me. We always shot the weddings together. He does the Photoshop side of my editing. So I do like 95% of the editing, and then I'm like, oh, can you just get rid of this in the background?
right.
So he does the kind of technical Photoshop stuff that takes hours that I don't have the patience for. So he does that element. He does my video editing, he does my podcast editing, but he's also setting up his own businesses with because he edits for other photographers too, but he also designs t-shirts. We're looking at doing something around cocktails and mocktails, like
Ooh.
there's always these little ideas. So now that he's left his job, he is using this time to explore what he wants to do as a business, because he gave me that opportunity and that space to
Yeah.
do that 10, 11 years ago. So it's his time now to just go, right, well, what do I want to do?
Oh my God, I totally love that. It's like you guys are a power couple, right? Like you know what each other needs at certain
Yeah.
points. And so you step in or you kind of take a step away, but you guys, oh my goodness, like you guys were meant to be. Like this is awesome. I love that.
We are a proper team. Like we've known each other for a long, long time.
Yeah,
Like I said, we met at uni, and uni was like 20 years ago. So we've known each other a long time.
right.
Um, and we've been through a lot. Like fertility will make or break a couple, and we got through that.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Absolutely. That is amazing. And so, okay, you've known Lisa for a long time, and
yeah.
so you've seen her grow.
Yeah, and she continues to inspire and amaze me with, but never surprise me in that whatever she puts her mind to, she will achieve, because that's just who she's always been
Right.
for as long as I've known her, and I'm sure for much longer than that. She has this really like tenacious spirit that like she will just succeed. And it's been amazing to see that just evolve over the years and how things change, and also just to be privy to some of those details when other people aren't, because I'm taking the photos, so I have a bit of a background. Like I'm never going to know all the ins and outs, and I'm not part of like the proper in-house team, but I do get little snippets of like, okay, we need to do a shoot for this. And
Okay.
so it is exciting to be like, when things launch, be like, oh yay, like I got to know about this first, which is like,
Oh, yeah. So you're the person to go to when there's like little secrets going on, right? Because you're gonna
absolutely not. I am a closed, like people tell, and I don't know whether being a photographer is like being a therapist, like people just tell me stuff, and all of my clients will tell me what's coming up in their business, because I'm like, we are creating images for the next 6, 9, 12 months. So I need to know what you're launching so that I can create a shoot around that. And so one of my core business principles is confidentiality. Like whatever you tell me goes no further.
Oh no. Okay, so that's my idea at
Yeah,
the
so I'm
window.
afraid if you want to know anyone's dirty laundry or what they're doing, I am not the girl to come to, because and people will be like, oh, do you know what's going on? I'm like, no, I don't even allude to the fact that I've been told. I'm like, oh no, I'm just in my little bubble. I don't know
Wow.
what's going on.
Wow. Okay, got it. Now, I know you've got a little nifty gift for everyone that's listening and tuning into this episode. Tell us
Yes.
a little bit about that special gift.
Okay, so I actually have a couple of little gifts. So on my freebies
Oh,
page,
yes.
there's a couple of things on there. So there is a posing guide on how to actually like stand and sit in photos, because that's one
Oh,
of the things people are always nervous about. There's a brand photography like starter kit. So that's got some stock images in there. It's got like the top 5 images you need for your business. It's got a shoot checklist. And then there's like an ultimate guide to the photos you need in your business, which is looking at what do you need for socials, for launching, for all of that. And that's a bit more detailed of like, okay, so for your website, you need a banner image, which is landscape, and you need these sorts of photos. So yeah, people can pick and choose what it is that they need, because people are at different stages of their business as
right.
to what they might need. So there's a couple
Oh,
of things. And that
fantastic.
page, that page grows. So like as we come up to Christmas, I do a stock photography advent calendar where every day you're getting a photo and like little prompt on how to use that photo on your socials, so that you're, because I love Christmas. So I'm like, right, well, I'll do a stock photography. I did an advent calendar.
Oh,
So I'm always adding things on there. So it's a link that just check back every now and again, because I might just, if I'm bored or procrastinating something, I'll create a freebie instead and just be like, there we go, have that.
interesting. That's good to know. Now, guys, all the links and everything on how to connect with Amanda, how to get her freebies will all be in the show notes. So make sure you scroll down and grab those show notes. And please reach out to Amanda, because she will make you look awesome. Right? We've all been privy to that. We all look awesome in her pictures. And she creates magic because she just has a strategy. She knows exactly how to do this, when to do it, and she will capture those moments. And if you want to start learning little bits and pieces, the basics around photography, then make sure you go to that link and you grab her freebies. Amanda, it was so awesome to have you on here, and so many golden nuggets. Thank you for just being really raw and real with us.
Thank you. And thank you so much, because I like when you said we needed to get raw, I thought, oh God, this is the wrong time of month for me to be having these conversations. I'm going to cry. And my mascara is still on my face. So you've made it really safe. And I've actually managed to not cry whilst talking about some of these things. So thank you.
Oh, no worries. And thank you. That is amazing. Thanks for listening to Make Your Mark podcast at www.makeyourmarkpodcast.com. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get this and every other episode that comes out. We have lots of great stuff coming, so make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss it. And thank you in advance for all the reviews and comments. I appreciate it so much, and I look forward to serving you in next week's episode.